Hello everyone, and I'm wishing you all a fantastic day. Today, we are going to step into a world of secrets and explore the incredible journey of Edgiging NSI, Dung Tomo Ca. Gagoi. It's a story that will keep you on the edge of your seat. If you like what you see today, please don't forget to click subscribe so you won't miss out on any of our upcoming adventures. The highland mist clung to the rugged peaks like a shroud, heavy and suffocating. In the valley below, nestled among the terraced rice fields, stood a house built of baked red brick and sturdy timber. 5 years ago, it was nothing more than a dilapidated bamboo shack. It was Queen who had carried those bricks on her bruised shoulders. It was Queen who had mixed the mortar until her hands bled, standing side by side with Tien, the man who had sworn under the blood-red harvest moon to love her until the mountains crumbled into dust. "We will build our kingdom here, Queen," he had whispered, kissing the dirt from her forehead. "Just you, me, and a house full of our children." But the mountains did not crumble. It was his promises that turned to dust. 5 years of agonizing silence echoed in Queen's womb. 5 years of choking down bitter, foul-smelling herbal remedies, of kneeling on the freezing stone floors of distant temples, praying to deaf gods for a single seed to take root. The love Tien once held for her slowly curdled into resentment, fueled by the relentless, venomous whispering of his mother, Mrs. Tu. In this village, a woman without a child was a tree without fruit, destined only to be chopped down for firewood. And so, the axe finally fell. Tien did not merely ask for a divorce. He did something infinitely crueler. He brought home Lan. Lan was a decade younger, with skin as smooth as river stones, and a belly that was already beginning to round with the undeniable proof of Tien's betrayal. She was installed in the master bedroom like an empress, while Queen, the lawful wife who held the legal marriage certificate, was violently demoted to the status of a despised, unpaid servant in her own home. This is not a story of quiet endurance. This is the story of a woman pushed to the absolute edge of the abyss, and the terrifying storm she unleashed when she finally refused to jump. The morning began before the sun had even considered cresting the eastern ridge. Queen was already awake, her body aching from sleeping on the damp, drafty floor of the storage room. The air was freezing, but there was no time to seek warmth. She had to boil water, cook the rice, and prepare the morning slop for the pigs. As she carried a heavy wooden bucket of boiling water toward the kitchen, she found Lan sitting deliberately on the narrow wooden staircase, blocking the path. Lan was filing her nails, her plump legs stretched out, an arrogant smirk playing on her lips. "Move, Lan. Let me pass," Queen said, her voice exhausted, devoid of the energy required for a fight. Lan didn't even look up from her nails. "Are you blind? Can't you see a pregnant woman is resting here? Go around. There is no other way to the kitchen, and this water is heavy. Please, just shift your legs." Lan's smirk widened. She slowly stood up, placing a protective hand over her slight bump. "You think you can order me around in my own house? You're just a barren maid, Quinn. The only reason my husband lets you stay is because he pities you. You have nowhere else to go." Before Queen could respond, Lan's eyes darted toward the front door. She heard the heavy thud of Tien's boots returning from the morning market. Instantly, Lan's entire demeanor shifted. The arrogant smirk vanished, replaced by a mask of sheer terror. With a sudden theatrical gasp, Lan threw herself backward, sliding down 2 steps and landing on her bottom with a loud thud, narrowly avoiding the bucket of boiling water. "Ah, help! Tien, help me!" Lan shrieked, her voice echoing through the rafters. Tien burst through the door, dropping his bags. "Lan, what happened?" Lan burst into perfectly timed, hysterical tears, clutching her stomach. "She pushed me, Tien. I was just sitting here and she told me I was in her way. She tried to push me down the stairs. She wants to kill our son." Tien's face contorted with a blind, rabid fury. He didn't ask Queen for an explanation. He didn't look at the heavy bucket in her hands or note the physical impossibility of her pushing Lan while holding it. He lunged at Queen, his large hand striking her across the face with the force of a falling tree. The bucket clattered to the floor, boiling water splashing violently against Queen's shins. She fell hard, the taste of copper flooding her mouth. "You psychotic bitch!" Tien roared, standing over her. "If you ever lay a finger on her or my child again, I will kill you myself. Do you hear me?" Mrs. Tu hurried out of her room, taking in the scene with cruel satisfaction. "I told you, Tien. She's jealous. She's a cursed, dried-up well trying to ruin our family's blessing. Get up, you useless animal," she spat at Quine. "Don't think you can lie there and play the victim. Go to the fields and harvest the corn. And don't come back until the baskets are full." Quine slowly pushed herself off the wet floor. Her cheek throbbed and her legs burned from the water, but her eyes were dry. She looked at Tien, who was tenderly cradling Lan in his arms, whispering sweet reassurances. The man she loved was dead. In his place stood a monster. She turned away without a word, picking up her woven basket, and walked out into the freezing mist. The cornfield was a mile away, situated on a steep, unforgiving incline. For 6 hours, Queen worked under the relentless, biting wind. Her hands, covered in old calluses and fresh cuts from the sharp corn leaves, bled freely. Every time she swung the machete to cut a stalk, the pain in her scalded shins flared, a searing reminder of the morning's humiliation. She remembered the days when she and Tien would harvest this very field together. They would sing folk songs, and when the sun grew too hot, they would rest in the shade of the ancient banyan tree, sharing a single canteen of water. Now she was entirely alone, her only companion the bitter wind that seemed to mock her isolation. By the time she dragged the 2 massive, overflowing baskets of heavy corn back to the house, it was mid-afternoon. Her stomach was completely empty, roaring with a hollow ache. She collapsed by the well, desperate for just a moment to catch her breath. "Are you sleeping, Mrs.?" Dai's shrill voice pierced the yard. The older woman marched out, hands on her hips. "Lan is hungry. She needs nourishment for the grandson. Go catch the large white goose and butcher it. Make sure the meat is tender, and make a ginger dipping sauce." Quine stared at the flock of poultry in the yard. The large white goose was notoriously aggressive, weighing nearly 10 pounds. "Mother, I just carried 40 kilos of corn down the mountain. I haven't eaten since yesterday. Can I just have a bowl of rice first?" "Rice is for people who contribute to this family," Mrs. Dewey snapped. "You didn't produce an heir, so you will produce labor. Catch the goose now, or you won't eat at all today." Quine rubbed her exhausted body toward the flock. The goose, sensing the danger, hissed and flapped its massive wings, darting around the muddy enclosure. Quine chased it, her legs trembling with fatigue. She lunged, slipping in the mud, falling face first into the foul-smelling dirt. From the porch, Lan sat in a rocking chair, peeling an orange and giggling softly at the pathetic spectacle. "Look at her, Tien," Lan cooed as Tien stepped out. "She can't even catch a stupid bird. How did you ever put up with someone so useless?" Tien laughed, wrapping an arm around Lan's shoulders. "She's only good for manual labor, and she's barely even good at that anymore. Hurry up, Quinn. My wife is starving." Fueled by a sudden, dark surge of adrenaline, Quine scrambled up, cornered the goose, and grabbed it by the neck. The bird thrashed wildly, its powerful wings bruising her arms, its beak tearing at her forearms. But Quine held on with a death grip. She dragged the struggling animal to the chopping block. As she brought the heavy cleaver down, the warm blood splattered across her face and hands. She stared at the crimson stains. A terrifying, cold realization began to crystallize in her mind. She was this goose. She was being bled dry, her life force extracted to feed the parasites that had taken over her home. She spent the next hour meticulously plucking feathers in boiling water, gutting the bird, and boiling it with ginger and lemongrass. The rich, savory aroma filled the courtyard, making her empty stomach cramp violently. She chopped the meat into perfect, bite-sized pieces, arranging them beautifully on a large ceramic platter, just as Mrs. Stewie demanded. Dusk settled over the village. Inside the house, the dining table was set. The warm glow of the overhead bulb illuminated a feast. The perfectly boiled goose, steaming bowls of fragrant rice, stir-fried greens, and a bowl of rich broth. Tien, Mrs. Stewie, and Lan took their seats. They laughed and chatted. The picture of a happy, expectant family. Quine stood by the kitchen door, wiping her bloody hands on a rag, waiting for permission to sit at her own table. "Come sit," Mrs. Stewie ordered, waving a dismissive hand. Quine sat at the very edge of the wooden bench. She reached for her chopsticks, her mouth watering at the sight of the meat she had spent hours preparing. Before she could reach the platter, Mrs. Stewie's chopsticks darted out, snatching the two massive meaty drumsticks. She placed one in Xian's bowl, and the other in Lan's. "Eat up, my daughter," Mrs. Stewie smiled warmly at Lan. "You need all the protein you can get. A strong boy needs a strong mother." Qian then took the breast meat, the wings, and the thick slices of a thigh, piling them onto Lan's plate and his own. Within seconds, the platter was reduced to a carcass of bones, skin, and the neck. Queenie sat frozen. Her chopsticks hovered in the air. Mrs. Stewie noticed her hesitation. With a mockingly generous sigh, the older woman reached out, picked up the two bony, scaly goose feet, and tossed them into Queen's empty rice bowl. They landed with a hollow, pathetic thud. "There," Mrs. Stewie said, not looking at her. "The feet are good for the joints. Since you run around doing chores all day, it's fitting. Eat it and be grateful." Aye. Quine stared down at the two pale, bony feet sitting in her bowl. There was no meat on them. It was a physical manifestation of her worth in this house. Absolute zero. She looked at Xian. He was busy carefully picking a bone out of a piece of breast meat for Lan, completely ignoring the blatant cruelty happening inches away from him. A sudden, overwhelming wave of grief crashed over Queen Dardai. The physical pain, the starvation, the betrayal. It all culminated in this single unbearable moment. A tear escaped her eye, tracing a clean line through the dried mud and blood on her cheek. It fell into her bowl, then another. Soon she was weeping silently, her shoulders shaking, unable to chew the pathetic scraps she had been given. Lan stopped chewing and slammed her chopsticks down. "Oh, for heaven's sake, can we have one meal in peace? Why is she crying? Is she trying to curse my baby with her negative energy?" Mrs. Stewie turned on Queen, her face twisting in disgust. "Stop your sniveling. You are ruining the meal for the whole family. If you want to cry like a widow, go do it outside. We are celebrating a new life, and you sit there shedding tears of jealousy." Qian slammed his hand on the table, rattling the bowls. "If you can't eat without crying, then don't eat at all. Go out to the pasture and bring the buffalo in, and clean its stall before you go to sleep." Quine did not argue. She didn't scream. She slowly stood up, leaving the bowl of bones untouched on the table. She turned her back on the warmth, the laughter, and the smell of the feast, and walked out into the pitch-black, freezing night. The night wind howled through the valley, cutting through Queen's thin cotton shirt like icy blades. She walked toward the distant pasture, a small flashlight providing the only beacon in the suffocating darkness. The massive water buffalo was grazing near the edge of the forest. Quinn approached the beast. It snorted, blowing hot, humid air from its nostrils. She leaned her forehead against its thick, warm flank, and for the first time that day, she allowed herself to truly break. She sobbed, a loud primal wail that was swallowed by the vastness of the mountains. She cried for her lost youth, for her empty womb, and for the man she had loved, who was now dead to her. But as the tears finally ran dry, a strange sensation washed over her. The crushing weight of despair that had anchored her soul for months suddenly began to lift, replaced by an icy, razor-sharp clarity. Why am I suffering? She thought. She looked at her scarred hands. She had built that house. She had tilled these fields. The law recognized her as the sole legal wife of Tien. The piece of paper locked in the wooden cabinet back at the house explicitly stated that half of everything belonged to her. They were not gods. They were just cruel, greedy people banking on her submission. They expected her to break, to pack her bags and run away into the night like a disgraced dog, leaving them with the house, the land, and the new life they had stolen from her. No, Quinn whispered into the darkness. I will not die in the mud so they can walk on clean floors. She wiped her face with the back of her sleeve. The submissive, weeping victim died right there in the freezing pasture. In her place, something deeply formidable and terrifying was born. She didn't just want to leave anymore. She wanted justice. She wanted vengeance. She wanted to see their arrogant empire burn to ashes. Over the next 3 weeks, a bizarre tranquility fell over the house. Queen stopped crying. She stopped arguing. When Mrs. Stewie demanded she scrub the floors twice a day, Quine did it in silence. When Lay intentionally spilled hot tea on the floor just to make her wipe it up, Quine cleaned it without a single flinch. When Tien yelled at her, she kept her head bowed in perfect, submissive obedience. They mistook her silence for defeat. They grew careless, bloated with their absolute power. But in the shadows, Quine was meticulously building her arsenal. One afternoon, while Tien took Lan to the district hospital for an ultrasound, and Mrs. Tu was gossiping at the village well, Quine slipped into the master bedroom. She moved with the silent precision of a ghost. She knew Tien kept all the important documents in a locked iron box under the bed. Using a heavy iron nail and a rock, she expertly popped the cheap padlock. Inside, she found the red book, the certificate of land use rights, confirming the property was registered under both her and Tien's names. She also found her original marriage certificate. But as she dug deeper, she discovered something that made her heart pound with dark triumph. There was a stack of loan agreements. Tien had borrowed a massive sum of money from dangerous underground lenders in the neighboring district to pay for Lan's upcoming lavish wedding feast and to buy her gold jewelry. The loans were taken out using the house as collateral. But to do that legally, he needed Quine's signature. She stared at the bottom of the loan contracts. There, written in Tien's sloppy handwriting, was a blatant, undeniable forgery of her signature. They weren't just emotionally abusing her. They had committed serious criminal fraud. Queen didn't steal the documents. She took out a cheap smartphone she had hidden for emergencies and took crystal-clear photographs of every single page, ensuring the forged signatures and official stamps were perfectly legible. She carefully placed the papers back, locked the box, and slipped out of the room, leaving no trace. The next morning, under the pretense of going to the distant forest to gather firewood, Queen took a motorbike taxi straight to the village chief's house. Mr. Hai, the village chief, was a stern but fiercely just man. He had always respected Queen's work ethic and had been deeply disturbed by the rumors of Tien's cruelty. Quine sat in his living room, bruised and emaciated, and laid the phone on his table. She showed him the photos of the forged documents. She showed him the marriage certificate. Then she rolled up her sleeves, revealing the dark, blooming bruises Tien had left on her arms, and the burn scars on her shins. Mr. Hai's face darkened with absolute fury. This is a disgrace to our village. Forgery, domestic violence, and violating the monogamy law. Tien thinks he is a king. He is about to find out he is a criminal. Need to forget. I don't just want to leave Uncle Hai, Quine said, her voice eerily calm, devoid of all emotion. I want to humiliate them. I want them to lose everything, just like they tried to take everything from me. They are planning a massive feast next Sunday to officially introduce land to the whole commune. I want to strike then. And the village chief nodded slowly, a dangerous glint in his eye. I will contact the district women's union and the local police. We will let them throw their party, and then, We will burn it down." Sunday arrived in a blaze of Highland sunshine. The courtyard of the brick house was transformed. Gaudy red banners fluttered in the wind. Mrs. Dewey had spared no expense, slaughtering pigs and chickens, hiring a band to play loud, triumphant music. Dozens of tables were set up in the yard, filled with relatives, neighbors, and friends. Tien paraded around in a sharp, rented suit, his chest puffed out with pride. Lan wore a glittering red dress that clung tightly to her pregnant belly, her neck and wrist heavy with the gold jewelry Tien had bought using the fraudulent loans. They were the absolute center of attention, accepting envelopes of lucky money and endless congratulations. "Finally, our family is blessed," Mrs. Dewey shouted over the music, raising a glass of rice wine to the crowd. "Out with the barren, in with the fruitful. Let us celebrate the true daughter-in-law of this house." The crowd cheered, raising their glasses. Coin was locked in the back kitchen, strictly forbidden from showing her face to ruin the aesthetic of the happy day. She sat on a small wooden stool, listening to the cheering, her heart beating a steady, rhythmic drum of anticipation. Suddenly, the loud, obnoxious music was abruptly cut off. A heavy, terrified silence fell over the courtyard, so profound that Queen could hear the wind rustling the plum tree leaves. She stood up, untied the filthy apron from her waist, and walked slowly out of the kitchen, stepping into the glaring sunlight of the yard. The crowd had parted like the Red Sea. Standing at the entrance of the gate were 2 white district police trucks. 4 uniformed officers stood shoulder to shoulder, their faces grim. Beside them stood Village Chief Hai, 2 stern-faced representatives from the District Women's Union, and a legal official clutching a thick briefcase. Tien's arrogant smile instantly vanished, melting into a mask of pale, sickening dread. The glass of wine slipped from Mrs. Tu's hand, shattering against the brick floor with a sharp crack. What is the meaning of this?" Tien stammered, stepping protectively in front of Lan, whose face had drained of all color. "We are just having a family gathering." The lead police officer pulled out a megaphone, his voice booming over the stunned crowd. "Tran Van Chien and Nguyen Dai Thu, you are under investigation for severe violations of the law on marriage and family, domestic assault, and criminal forgery of legal documents." The guests gasped, murmuring furiously among themselves. Queen walked through the crowd. She didn't look like a beaten, barren wife anymore. She walked with her spine straight, her head held high, an avenging angel rising from the ashes of her own ruin. "Quine, you treacherous bitch, what did you do?" Mrs. Dewey shrieked, lunging forward with her hands curled into claws. Though she could take 2 steps, a police officer stepped forward, placing a heavy hand on her shoulder and shoving her firmly back. "Control yourself, ma'am, or you will be handcuffed immediately." The legal official opened his briefcase and pulled out a stack of documents. "Mr. Tien, you are legally married to Ms. Quine Hora. Hosting a public wedding ceremony with another woman while still married is a direct violation of the law. Furthermore, we have verified photographic evidence that you forged Ms. Queen's signature to take out high-interest loans using marital property as collateral. That is fraud. It is a criminal offense carrying mandatory prison time." Lan let out a high-pitched, hysterical wail, sinking into a plastic chair. She clutched her belly, the heavy gold jewelry suddenly feeling like chains around her neck. The wealthy, secure future she thought she had ruthlessly manipulated her way into was disintegrating before her very eyes. "The house and the land were built and acquired during your legal marriage," the official continued, turning to address the crowd as much as Tien. "It is joint, marital property. Because you attempted to defraud her, the court will freeze all assets immediately. Ms. Quine is legally entitled to 50% of everything, and considering the physical abuse, the court will ensure she gets it. The creditors you defrauded will seize the rest." Tien fell to his knees, the cheap fabric of his rented suit tearing on the rough dirt. The bravado, the cruelty, the arrogant patriarchy, it all collapsed under the crushing weight of the law. No, please," he begged, looking up at Queen with desperate, tear-filled eyes. "Queen, please, I'm sorry, don't do this. We don't have the money. They will take the house." Queen looked down at the man who had promised her the world and then dragged her through a living hell. She looked at Mrs. Tu, who was hyperventilating, her grand dreams of a proud dynasty crumbling into dust. She looked at Lan, crying real tears of panic, realizing she had hitched her wagon to a sinking ship. There was no love left in Queen's eyes, nor was there any anger. There was only a cold, absolute, magnificent indifference. "You wanted me gone, Tien," Queen said, her voice steady, ringing clear as a bell across the silent courtyard. "I am leaving, but I am not leaving empty-handed. You will sell this land, or the bank will seize it. You will pay me every single penny of my half. And when they take this house to pay your legal debts, you, your mother, and your new wife can go live in the pig pen I spent the last 5 years cleaning." Why? The aftermath was swift and utterly merciless. Faced with irrefutable evidence of domestic abuse and forgery, Tien was arrested and held in district custody, pending trial. To avoid a lengthy prison sentence, Mrs. Tu was forced to immediately liquidate every single asset they owned at a massive loss. The house, the land, the pigs, and even the aggressive white geese were sold to a neighboring farmer. Half of the proceeds went directly into a bank account in Queen's name. The other half was immediately seized by the furious underground lenders Tien had defrauded. The once proud family was financially and socially ruined, reduced to the laughingstock of the district. Lan, realizing that Tien was now a penniless criminal facing trial, showed her true colors. Under the cover of darkness, she packed her bags, stripped off the gold jewelry, which she quickly sold to a pawn shop, and fled back to her own village, abandoning Tien and his mother entirely. When Tien was finally released on bail, he returned not to a kingdom and awaiting heir, but to a rented, dilapidated tin roof shack, where his mother wept bitterly all day, cursing the heavens for her misfortune. On a crisp, clear morning, Queen stood at the crossroads at the edge of the valley. She wore a new, clean coat. In her bag was her bank book, the financial equivalent of her youth, her sweat, and her suffering, finally converted into her absolute, undeniable freedom. It was enough money to move to the city, open a small grocery stall, and start an entirely new life where no one cared about her womb. She turned back to look at the valley one last time. In the distance, she could see the red brick house she had built. The gaudy wedding banners still hung from the porch, torn to shreds by the wind, flapping like the ghosts of a broken, toxic past. Queen took a deep breath of the freezing, pure mountain air. She didn't need a child to leave a legacy. Her survival was her legacy. She turned her back on the village, stepped onto the paved road leading to the city, and began to walk. The relentless grinding noise of her past was finally silenced, and ahead lay nothing but the brilliant, untethered possibilities of a life reclaimed. This video follows the compelling journey of Queen, a devoted wife who was pushed to the absolute brink by her cruel husband and his pregnant mistress. Forced into the role of a despised servant within the very home she built, she silently endures daily humiliation and abuse. While her quiet submission may look like total defeat to her arrogant in-laws, to Queen, it is a calculated disguise to gather undeniable evidence of their crimes. She is preparing to confront the suffocating, archaic cruelty of a family that views her merely as a barren outcast. Driven by a profound desire to reclaim her stolen dignity and legal rights, Queen transforms her immense despair into an unstoppable, cold-blooded rebellion to brilliantly shatter their toxic empire and walk away free.